deal with it because I don't really mind. I'm pretty simple when it comes to these things. I just have too much fun riding them and end up not wanting to take them apart again because, you know, they're just too much fun having in one piece. So I didn't go back and fix that. Oh, okay, so another, I mean, I'm gonna be taking this apart anyways, but just for good practice, you know, take a little bit of that. Just throw that in there. As you can see, this gasket is actually pretty wasted, not gonna lie. I'm definitely not, this thing, oh my lord. Oh my, look at that thing. I don't know if you can see that, but this thing is like destroyed. Yeah, I'm gonna need a new one of those. I was kind of thinking about reusing this, but that's gonna be definitely no-go, because that thing is wrecked. So we're just gonna worry about all that later, I think. But for now, just throw a rag in there. Don't forget it if you're reassembling, but for now, since we're just disassembling, no worries. Even if I did drop something down there, all in all, really probably wouldn't matter all that much, but you know, we don't like to do that. Just no need to do that, even though it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's all out now. Hopefully I can somehow... This thing could use a good clean. I honestly didn't even run this thing for very long, but man, I really was not terribly easy on it. It is a little bit dirty and stuff in there, so let's see if the bottom of this is all messed up from that thing. It all looks pretty good. So there's that. Not too bad. And yes, it's better to have a clean workspace, but look at me. I have too much of this stuff going on at once, and that other red one, I don't even know if I'm gonna update you guys on it just because I'm so freaking disappointed in what happened to it. So everything looks pretty kosher though, besides kind of normal wear and tear. I'll probably polish this up, clean it, get it looking real nice again, because when I got it, it was basically brand new. Basically brand new. Whoop. Got a little water in there. Yeah. So it was basically brand new when I got it. The guy had just did new powder coat on it. It was all shiny and pretty, but like everything that gets into my hands, it does not stay nice for long, right? We definitely use our stuff, so anyways, basically that's for the most part a lot of the hard stuff there, like getting that pipe off. If you had a bread box exhaust, I think I got rid of the one I had out here, but regardless, it's just, you just pull the studs out the front. It's pretty simple. You can definitely figure it out. The long pipe is definitely probably a little bit more time consuming in my opinion. Especially for me, because I've been working with half pipes for most of my time working on these things. So take off your spark plugs. We'll probably just leave that cooling line on there just so that I don't forget what goes to what for the moment until I can get a couple pictures or something. So the only thing that's really holding this thing in at this point is the engine mount, stator, throttle, this cooling line, which can come off right now. Okay, so we're just gonna quick take off this cooling line just like all the other ones, the main one into the manifold, so that we're not all hooked up to it. This is definitely one of my least favorite ones, especially when I have some really hard cooling line that's like it's all stiffened up and you gotta pull down on it and you end up like punching punching something inevitably pretty much. But yeah, just be careful with this though, just because like this line that goes into the hull and stuff, you don't really want to be putting a terrible amount of stress on that, because if you break that off, that'll really suck. So just don't do that. Be easy when you're pulling on this cooling line. Don't be putting too much unnecessary stress on that rear mount there, or not that rear mount, that rear cooling entrance or a line that goes through the hull. Because if you mess that thing up, you're SOL. You're doing dual cooling, or you're going to have to hack it together and get it to work somehow. So all around, just not fun times. All right, so that's all good on this side. We're just going through. We're going to get all the small stuff detached so we don't forget anything. And after that, we're just going to pull this thing out. So we're going to go, I have the wrench right now, so we'll just go throttle next. So with your throttle, just throw a little grease in there, and when you pull your throttle, make sure that the cable is perfectly in line with the wheel, because if it's not, it can rub on the cable and cause it to fray. So definitely just check that every, in the beginning, probably around, maybe like every month or so. Just kind of check that, make sure that your cable's not looking like it's frayed or anything, because if it is and you catch it early, you can still use your frayed cable for a little bit depending on the condition of it. And just order a new one so you have one on deck, and keep it like, let's say you really want to get the most out of your part and you really want to ride that thing, just keep it when you go riding. Just bring it in the truck or in your car with you, just that when you're down at the lake, and if this thing snaps at the lake, which is not ideal, it's not the ideal time for anything to happen, is when you're trying to have fun. But if it does happen, you at least can hopefully still salvage some of the day and quick install this thing on site, So as you can see, my steering cable is nothing pretty to look at, but it works. So that's pretty much the deal with that. Look at all this crap, dude. That's nasty. Look at that. What the heck? So anyways, that's my advice though. Because you don't want anything that's going to hinder you from doing what you want to do, which is riding your jet ski. So we're going to take out, oh, okay, that's not really good, but that's fine, whatever. So when you take out your primer, it might just pull the whole fitting out with it. Not great, but whatever, not really a big deal either. Just kind of lay that there. And I'm just going to take a picture of this because I don't feel like taping it and stuff. I'm going to take a quick video. So the one with the filter and the primer, it goes to the fuel pump, and the filter one goes around. That one goes around, down, into the top. This is just for me. So the one without the filter goes to the top, and then the bottom one goes around, and it just goes to the water separator in there. Okay, that should be good enough for me for when I have to reassemble this thing. So that's just something good to do. You can tape it, or you can just take a video. I personally just kind of like to take videos just because. And another good thing to just kind of keep on hand, which I'm not really sure. Oh, I've got some stuff. We're good. Just kind of keep a bunch of screws on hand, like extra hardware and stuff. That's not. Is any of this good? Oh. No. Okay, so yeah, just keep some good hardware on deck so that you can do, you know, wipe it off a little bit. Don't get all that nasty stuff in there or anything, but you know, just kind of wipe it off. Ain't no thing. And yeah, just throw this in here. Doesn't have to be tight or anything, just good enough so that it's not gonna fall out. Just so you don't get any crap in there. It's just, it'd be fine, I'm sure, if you just didn't do it. These things are pretty robust, except, you know, they're not gonna probably be that temperamental, but I just like to be safe, because why not? It takes like 2 extra seconds and then it's done. So that's what I recommend you do with that. Oh, and then another good little tip is when you take hardware off like this, where it could pretty easily get, oh, those are pretty loose. Yeah, see, so always make sure, because those can just loosen up by vibrations. These things vibrate so much, especially with these ROS solid poly mounts. The vibrations just become ridiculous. Like it feels like my teeth are gonna fall out at like very low RPM when I'm like standing and trying to go very slow. It feels like my teeth are gonna fall out. Like the hood's shaking and stuff. It's just, the thing vibrates a lot more with those solid mounts than it does with those stock mounts that are really more forgiving. So up next, I've got a big old ground on this thing just because that's all I had at the moment, which is how a lot of my jet ski builds go, which is kind of whatever I can scrounge up in the moment. Yeah, so we just threw a big old battery one on there. It's no big deal what you use. It doesn't really matter all that much. So up next, we're just gonna quick take off the stator connection between the E-box and the stator here. Don't forget that, because you don't really want to be pulling on any of that stuff. I know I don't mess with the electrical stuff on these things. I hate it. It's my absolute least favorite thing. I will avoid it like the plague till the day I die, probably, because I just really dislike everything to do with the electronics on these things. I love all the mechanical stuff because it's fairly straightforward, but I've just seen so many and had problems with the electrical and these things, and man, it's just not a fun time when you have to deal with stuff like that. So I always am extra careful when it comes to anything with the electronics. So like when I rebuild all these, I always go on eBay and seek out a actual OEM O-ring seal for this, because I just don't play those games with getting water, like buying an SBT one. It goes through enough heat cycles, gets weak, opens up, and the next thing you know, you have a fried stator or something because water got in there, and then you just really makes you hate everything. So yeah, just be easy on everything that has to do with anything electronic, because it can turn into a really miserable time. Up next, so another just little tip that I like, thread these back in. You know, thread them back in there, just so that you don't lose them. Like so. You don't really want them getting in your way either, but just keep them there, no big deal. Got a little bit of a cluster of stuff down here now. So now everything here is basically free. I will start doing the engine mounts now. So I just really like to do a good once, twice, 3 times over, and really just make sure that all the small things are disconnected, because it sucks when you have like a ground and you miss it and you go to pull out the engine and you know, you might break it, or now you're still attached, you got to put it back down. Not a good time for anyone involved, so just do a 1, 2, 3 over before you even touch any engine mounts. That's what I like to do, just so that I try to avoid the frustration that inevitably comes with, inevitably comes with working. And watch your hand. Okay, sorry about that. I was just making sure this thing was actually still recording, because I was about to be really upset if I missed all that and had to like recap it like half-assed. So, anywho, we're just gonna keep on plugging because it looks like everything's good. Oh. And yeah, I know I could probably use a bigger wrench on this, but it just isn't worth it. I don't really care. It's kind of a pain when you start getting big wrenches in here anyways. You have to start trying to maneuver around things, and it's just not fun. So I usually just use the small wrench. And yeah, just always be careful. You don't want to punch some crap, and that always hurts. So see, so as you can see here, hopefully I'll show again after, but there's a Roz lock washer here, and there is not one here because the pipe would not allow it to fit. So I'm thinking if you have a half pipe, the curve of the pipe, like, don't quote me on this, you can check or just buy it and just see what happens. That's usually how I like to do things, is I'll look a little bit, and then if it doesn't say it, I'll just get it if it's not too expensive and just experiment, figure it out myself. Considering that these things are like $5 each, but so they're not like anything crazy like that.